Episode 164 of the 4x4 podcast is brought to you by Artemis Overland Hardware. Artemis Overland Hardware is a family business with a huge selection of overland equipment in stock for online orders, or you can visit the showroom located in Springfield, Missouri. Either way, Artemis Overland Hardware will get you equipped and ready for all your adventures, wherever they may take you. And brought to you by Forney Industries. Get it done with green. Forney offers a full line of welding and plasma cutting machines, metalworking accessories, and more. For do-it-yourselfers, all the way to professional metalworkers, Forney has everything you need for your next project. Shop Forney's top-of-the-line products at forneyind.com or visit an authorized Forney dealer near you.
You're listening to the 4x4 podcast, the podcast all about four-wheeling, overlanding, off-road racing, and the outdoor lifestyle. We talk about news, tips and tricks, answer your questions, and interview big and little names in the off-roading world. So whether your rig is busted and you're in the shop wrenching on it, or you're on your way to the trail, join us and we'll keep you plugged in on topics to help you get away. Here are your hosts, Dan, Craig, and Rich.
Well, hello guys. How are you doing tonight?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing well. We'll get a lot of stuff to talk about. We got a great interview with Isaac from Snorkel Upgrade. But before we get to that interview, I want to let everybody know we totally failed to announce it on the last time we recorded because I don't think it was time yet to make the announcement. But in July, we will hit 10 years of doing the 4x4 podcast. So to celebrate, we're doing a giveaway. And you can get entered. Just go to the 4x4podcast.com/10 years. And there's a couple things that you need to do, but the winner for this giveaway is only going to be announced on the podcast. So you have to listen to know that you won. So everybody that's hearing this, you're already one step ahead of the game. But I know there's a lot of folks that just follow us on Instagram and Facebook and all of the social medias. But this is to incentivize them to start listening to the podcast because really this is where all the good stuff is at. But now here's a little bit about the giveaway. It ends in July, early July. I can't remember which day. We'll have to look that up. But the winner is going to get the Warn Wireless Hub Remote, which is compatible with other winches. And this is a really, really awesome thing. This isn't just a wireless controller. Like this connects to your phone, and you can control the winch with your phone. It's got tons of great information that you can get there. So the Warn Wireless Hub Remote, an LT Wright knife. We've had LT himself on the podcast talking about all things knife related. So you get a knife there and a 3-year subscription to Outdoor by 4. And we got another interview with Frank from Outdoor by 4 coming up here very soon. Let's get to this interview with Isaac with Snorkel Upgrade. Tonight on the podcast, I'm really excited to have Isaac from Snorkel Upgrade. How are you doing tonight?
Hey, Dan. Great. Thanks for having me on.
Well, I'm glad to have you on because I am by no means an expert in air cleaners and snorkel systems, but you know, I use an oil analysis service, the Blackstone oil analysis, and when I turned in one of the analysis a while ago for my Jeep, they said, hey, we're seeing a lot of silica content in your oil. You may want to look at your air filtration system. So I took that to heart. And here I am down in Southern California. I see a lot of dust down here. And so that's when I knew I needed to make the change. So I went and purchased a cheapo Chinese snorkel. And from there, it's just been a wild adventure. We'll get into that later. But I think the kind of off-road market is now kind of realizing kind of on the larger scale that the snorkel is not necessarily for water, right? So can you kind of walk me through why somebody would want to have a snorkel on their vehicle at all?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, aside from trying to be a submarine of sorts or a duck boat, really, I mean, the main point is lifting the intake of your vehicle away from like the thicker debris that is kicked up from driving down whatever road you're on, whether you're, in convoy behind somebody and they're throwing them a bunch of dust, having your intake on the hood versus a couple feet above does make a difference in what you're getting directly in your filter. And I mean, that's why a lot of the vehicles, even you see in Australia, all these Outbacks, they all have snorkels. And, mostly it's because of the dust. And it's another, it's like the first line of defense and saving that filter is just getting it above the main cloud.
Sure. And, when I was growing up, I'd see the Camel Trophy and all those videos from the Outback on YouTube that are on just in magazines and stuff. And it just looks awesome, for one. But they always have just like the regular forward-facing scoop. And I always thought, well, maybe that's because they want to get the ram air effect. As they're driving, they're pushing more air in. But I don't know if that's necessarily the case. I think that may have just been the easiest solution that came up. Do you know how that kind of came about?
I mean, I think generally you hit it on the nail there. It's just, hey, instead of having it face back, if I'm moving down the road, I'll get more air in it that way. But those front-facing designs, they also try to compensate for knowing that they're just open-faced in the front, and they'll try to like have a little port on the side if rain comes in or whatever. So there is some acknowledgement that, hey, it is facing forward, and hey, there is stuff that comes in here.
And
even on some frontward facing snorkels, they'll have a plug in the filter box to unplug. I believe it's Rugged Ridge if it's raining too hard, because water will just come in.
So they know that their snorkel is already a faulty design. You have to make a modification to let the water out.
But I mean, it's not like one in particular is a faulty design. It's just all snorkels are like this.
Yep.
Right. So, I mean, it's just, there hasn't been like new technology to this, which is what we were excited to jump into and get involved in.
Yeah. So I saw that faulty design, and I swatched over to, it looks more like a plastic salad bowl flipped upside down, and it is, from what I can tell, a dramatic improvement. Just the difference in running that forward snorkel to something that sucks in from the bottom and kind of spins the air around. I think on one episode I described it more like a Dyson vacuum, where it spins the larger particles out to the sides. But still, just that clear plastic, or what started out as clear plastic on mine, now it's a frosted plastic that's just been super pitted from the debris getting sucked in, as well as just, it's cheap Chinese plastic. I knew that going into it. I got exactly what I paid for when I spent the $20 on it, and it looks pretty sad, and I imagine it's not going to be much longer till it completely breaks. So I guess that's where I started looking out for something better. We've talked to Adam Shallow. He's been on the podcast before. He made this big swap in his Jeep Cherokee to a diesel motor, and I just saw it the other day. He's got a really awesome looking top on top of his snorkel. And so I had to ask, say, hey, Adam, what is this top that you have on yours? Because it looks like it performs much better than mine. He said, oh, it's the Cyclone. It's the best thing ever. Nice. So after some research, I realized, hey, the guy I'm going to be talking to, the Cyclone is his thing. So tell me kind of what the difference is between the Cyclone snorkel top and all the other ones that are out there.
Yeah, for sure, man. For sure. So we actually, I like to call it the Dust Bowl. I mean, because it starts off very clear, but I mean, you just can't, unless you're going to get in there and like slightly melt the plastic or do something. I mean, it's just a fog, in there. And, we had a customer the other day on our Instagram do a head-to-head, comparison. And he had the product that you're talking about, which is like the salad bowl, dust bowl, and it has the head top that has the wing nut. And, if he's in Canada, so he's like, hey, it's great. It collects snow that doesn't go in my pre-cleaner, and it's better that it collects it in the bowl and not in my air filter. But, if he comes in his garage, the snow melts. And then if he doesn't dump his snow, then the ice, then it turns into ice, and here you are. And it's like, is that kind of like day-to-day potential maintenance something that you really want to have, on your air intake?
Yeah.
And, I understand if you want to put chains on your vehicle in the snow, that's like a different kind of thing, but you're not looking to, change your snorkel head every time you go in and out of your garage. But what's interesting with those is that there's like louvers on the bottom, right? The intake is like slanted, right? So you have the suction coming in and the air is coming in at an angle. And so that angle pushes the stuff into the bowl.
All the bugs, right? All the sand, all the everything.
Yep. And so, the louvers do work, right? But this is where we start to draw the line of saying that's like where the innovation kind of ends on that one. And the main thing that the Cyclone is doing is actually creating a cyclone inside the dome. And so unlike the Dust Bowl or the traditional snorkel head, there's a moving rotor inside the dome. And that thing is spinning when your engine's on, and when you're really sucking air, it's spinning even faster. And air's coming up the bottom of the dome. It does hit a very small louver, right? Not as big as the one on the Dust Bowl, but then it's immediately put into a chamber where this rotor is spinning. And what the spinning rotor does is it takes any particle with mass or larger mass particles, and it pushes them out, right? Just like in the eye of the hurricane, it's calm, and outside it's chaos, right?
Yep.
And so there's a slit on the side of the dome that then, when things are pushed to the inside of the dome on the in the wall, it just eventually they make it around to the slit and they're ejected out. And, on average, it's 80+%, sometimes 90+% of the stuff in the air or more, depending. If we had a video for this, I could show you. I mean, you could get a vacuum, a shop vac, and tape it on there and just hold sand underneath it, and it'll just suck the sand up, and you just see all the sand shoot right out the hole.
Yeah. So I'm looking at the snorkelupgrade.com website. And I can't remember which page. I think it was the How It Works. And there's an animation that describes what it is you're talking about. So I'll have a link to that specifically on the show notes for this episode so that everybody, if they need a visual, they can see. And I did not realize, by looking at the outside, you can't tell if there's any moving parts to the inside of that. And I'm sure that makes a huge difference.
Mm-hmm. It does, and it also gives a nice little buzz or like a little mini turbo sound. And that kind of like brings up another point that people ask is, with their snorkel head restriction, right? So, a lot of people look at the open ram air head facing forward and saying that right there is not restrictive at all. It's like, hey, pretty much right? But if you're sucking a bunch of dust in and you're halfway through your trip, sure, that's not restrictive, but the restriction that you just put on your air filter kind of just like counterbalance how much air you're actually ramming into your air filter.
Right.
And that's a lot of things that we like to explain to people is that it's about having optimal performance and matching the particles to the filter mesh. If you have a large particle come in, like a bee or a leaf, or just a big rock or something, and it rips a hole in your filter, the integrity of your filter is compromised and it will clog faster. But if the material that gets to that filter mesh is generally a consistent size and is finer, that filter is going to have its optimal life. It was made for this, right? It wasn't made for the other bigger chunks. So you're really giving your filter the best chance by feeding it consistency.
Sure. I remember reading on a forum thread, I think it was like Expedition Portal or something. Somebody was talking about doing a long road trip and they had their forward-facing snorkel. And over the course of however the hour or something that they were driving through the snow, they noticed that they started having major, major power loss. And they couldn't figure out what was going on, so they pulled over. And as they kind of finally closed the hood in complete despair, they realized, their snorkel head was completely packed full of snow and it was suffocating the engine. So he knocked that off, spun it around the other way. So it was facing to the back. But even that really didn't fix the problem because it's trying to suck air through a kind of a negative air pressure system, because it's creating that vacuum on the backside, and it wasn't working as well. I don't know what ended up happening with that guy, but I knew that the forward-facing snorkel head was bad idea. Especially since I'm going to be moving back up to Alaska where I get tons of snow and ice and all kinds of stuff, and I didn't want to have any part of that drama.
Yeah. Well, some people put socks on there too. Oh,
that looks good. That's a good look.
Yeah. Nothing better to air out your dirty sock than just put it over that snorkel hat.
Man.
We have a couple of funny posts on our account about that. And then there's oil too. You can get specialty oil for your snorkel sock, in case you're looking for that.
It just keeps getting better. And as I was thinking about it, it just occurred to me that I've seen the Cyclone snorkel pre-filter in use. For anybody that's listened to the podcast for a while, they know I'm active duty Army down in Southern California. See a lot of vehicles come through, and the MATVs and the JLTV now is becoming, you see it a lot more. And I just now realized that that's what's on the JLTV, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Every JLTV has a Cyclone on it. That was, decades in the making. It's actually my father invented the Cyclone, and he's been working on this for 30 plus years, and it was over a decade process of that pre-cleaner has to go over 130 plus degrees. The same pre-cleaner without interchangeable parts has to go down to negative 20 degrees. There's special breakpoint design on the pre-cleaners, so if something snags on the hood, it doesn't tear the intake all the way to the engine, so it's easily replaceable. There was just like a whole litany of things, but the intake for the JLTV was designed around the Cyclone.
That's so cool. How did your dad come across the idea? Was there some sort of aha moment? Something needs to be better.
I've asked him this before, but I think it was more of he just likes to tinker with stuff. And, there's just always stories of growing up where he was the kid that would take the lawnmower apart and put it back together. And so he was always very mechanical, and, been around a lot of heavy equipment, in the extended family. There was farming and things like that. And so he had exposure to kind of the ebbs and flow of maintenance on bigger equipment. And so he came up with an idea, and he drew it on a napkin. And then he showed my uncle, who's an aerospace engineer in the late 80s. And he was like, hey, I think this would actually work. If you spin stuff, it does push it out. And, there is enough suction here to spin something. And so they made a wooden mold, and they melted plastic in my aunt's oven, and they made the first 10 prototypes in a house around downtown Orlando.
I bet your grandma loves having all that melted plastic in her oven.
Yeah, no, she is. Yeah, no, Aunt Marla was not happy with that at all. So when she would go to the store, they would do it. They were like, oh, she's going to be gone for an hour or 2 hours.
Nothing to see here. Keep going. Go get some coffee. That's awesome.
And so, that kind of evolved into, the bread and butter business. Before that, they had an oil filtration business when oil and lubricants were really high in cost in the 80s. But then when that went down, they switched to air. And, this is the 5th general redesign of the Cyclone Series 9000 pre-cleaner. And it's funny to talk to the engineers about it because they're like, we can't make it any more efficient.
It has been fully optimized.
Everything. You have 30 years of engineers that have just been looking at this, and, Caterpillar, John Deere, Volvo, Komatsu, these big OEMs now are all using these Cyclone products. They're not on everything. They're first fit on a lot of products, but these people are really, they want to make sure there's not restriction on the engine. If you have a big Cat engine and there's restriction, it causes big problems. So, it was an obsession and is an obsession of Cyclone Corporate. And this is kind of just, this is the ultimate for now. They have new products that are powered that actually spin air faster, and they're getting into like closed operating environments where you're worried about air quality. People will get silicone in their lungs, and that's like really bad. And so, but yeah, man, this is something that has been exciting. And when they locked down the JLTV contract, it was great.
Yeah. Well, something like that, it's got like a 5 or 6 inch air inlet. So there's probably, I don't know of any Toyota Tacomas that have an air intake system that's that big. So do you have kind of Cyclones made to fit a wide range?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And in fact, we have even little guys that are like 2-inch inlets that you could put on, your lawnmower or like a small ATV or something. But we go from like that small 2-inch all the way 6+. And how we have it broken down is based off of CFM range. And so one thing that's very important to know about the Cyclone pre-cleaner is that rotor is optimized for a certain CFM range. The size, the inlet, the shape. In fact, our Series 9001 that has a 4-inch inlet has a brother pre-cleaner that has a 4-inch inlet, but it's called the Series 9001R. The R is actually slightly stubbier, just very slightly stubbier, but it has a higher CFM range.
Interesting.
And so if you have a vehicle that's not producing the right CFM range for the pre-cleaner loses efficiency. And so we draw the line at liters, whether it's aspirated or not, whether there's a turbo or not. I'm just looking at liters, and that is if you have under a 4.8 liter engine, you go with the Series 9001, and that takes you up to 250 CFMs. And then if you need more, you can go up to the R, which can get you up to 350. And so they're the same inlet size, but again, slightly different dome design. And that's why I kind of like to, say it's spin science, dome science, because that does really matter. And then if you look on the site, and we have a range of adapters, so you'll see it's most of the things that we sell for a Tacoma, or a Jeep, or even a Tundra. They're the 4-inch, but then they're using a 3.5-inch rubber reducer adapter.
Awesome. Well, so if somebody wants to pick up a Cyclone, or if they want to see the diagram, where would you have them go?
Go to snorkelupgrade.com. So we tried to make the name and the company very direct. Just upgrade that snorkel. There's a lot of people that look at it and they're like, hey, it's expensive, and it is expensive compared to a traditional head. But when you look at a filter cost, and you say maybe I'm spending $50 on a filter, or even more, $80, and you can say, hey, it's really healthy if you're out there riding in the desert every 3 months, to change your filter. Well, this you might change it maybe every 9 months, or a year, or so you're saving potentially 60% or more on your filters, and maybe even more than that if you really want to stretch it a longer time. But eventually it kind of pays for itself. And in fact, some of the early marketing material of the business was, free air filters. It was just like, use it for a year and a half, and it just paid for itself.
Yeah, that makes sense. It just also occurred to me. So I haven't always lived in dusty places. I've also lived in central Texas where there's some dust, but there were some like biblical level bug swarms coming through there. And I remember like opening up the air filter box and just like scooping out dead like locusts or crickets or whatever it was. Disgusting. It was just terrible. And that was inside the air cleaner box, and that air filter was destroyed. I should have changed it a long time before I did, but the thought just never occurred to me. This is the kind of thing that would have served me extremely well.
Yeah, and the indirect thing with not having the filter clean or having all that in there is also your oil. I mean, you said it in the beginning when you got your oil tested. If you start getting debris and dirt into your engine, there's other maintenance things that increase the cost if you really love your motor.
Yeah. Yeah, fortunately, my motor doesn't have a lot of miles on it, but I'm going to keep using that oil analysis service, because had I done nothing and not used the service, I probably would have been changing a motor or buying a whole new vehicle. That's very insightful.
I love those service. What is there a service that you use for that?
Yeah, so I use Blackstone Laboratories. I think there's a hyphen somewhere in the website. If you don't put the hyphen in there, it takes you to some workout supplement thing, but yeah, Blackstone Labs. I just handed off a sample bottle to one of my buddies here that lives down the street from me, because I showed him the report, and you get all the numbers, all the statistics, and then there's a real human that writes the summary. And when I saw that says you're getting a lot of silica content in the oil, I was like, oh man, I got to do something.
That's great. I grew up going to these ag shows and stuff, and we would just get in there and collect oil. And, so we'd come home with like an experiment kit of just like oil samples, send it off. So yeah, it's fun. And it's not overly expensive if you're really going to geek out about your car and you want to know what's really going on. You should, do it. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Isaac, thanks for coming on, and, I'm going to steal your joke, helping to clear the air about snorkels.
I'm happy to have you use it there. Yeah, anytime you need to clear the air on any of that, you just let me know.
For sure. And I'm going to keep following on Instagram, because some of those pictures and what everybody's showing, I love it. Love it. Keep it up.
Thanks, man. Yeah, we have a great community. I'm happy to be a part of it all. It's a lot of fun.
Sure. All right, Isaac. I will talk to you later.
All right. Thanks, Dan.
Artemis Overland Hardware is a local family business that supplies your adventures. They do have a brick and mortar store located in Springfield, Missouri, where you can come in and browse the huge selection of equipment. And if you're out there on a Friday, you're going to get a great meal. And when I say the selection is huge, I mean it's huge. Artemis Overland Hardware has a large chunk of the catalog available from OzTent, 23-0, Easy On, Snowmaster Fridges, Timbo Tusk, Covia, Frontrunner, Alucab, iCamper, Come Up Winches, Factor 55, Crazy Beaver Tools, National Luna, Red Arc, Ironman 4x4, and Goose Gear. They're an installer for Goose Gear. Now, this isn't just a long list of reputable brands. Artemis Overland Hardware is all about building relationships. And those relationships with you, the customer, are absolutely important. That's why they're doing that free lunch on Friday. That's awesome. And they're always adding more brands to that list as they find out what works and what doesn't. So anything that you get is going to be one of those things that really works well. Just head over to Artemis Overland Hardware and check out all these brands. Now, if you have any questions on anything that Artemis Overland carries, then do not hesitate to give Aaron and his team a call. Check them out at artemisoverland.com and get equipped and ready for all your adventures, wherever they may take you. That's ARTEMIS Overland.com. Check them out, hit them up on social media, and say thank you for their continued partnership with the 4x4 podcast. And this episode is brought to you by Forney Industries. If you're looking to take your welding to the next level, Forney Industries has been a family-owned company focused on innovating top-of-the-line metalworking machines and accessories since 1932. From solving the simple need to repair metal in the 60s to crafting thousands of products for a wide spectrum of metalworkers today, catering to the ever-changing needs of the customers has always been a top priority for Forney Industries. For beginner welders and DIY enthusiasts, the Forney Easy Weld line of machines takes the fear out of welding. For intermediate to experienced welders, the Forney line of machines will get the job done at the right price. Now, if you need to level up, for professional to advanced metalworkers, the next generation of Forney machines has been developed. It's tested and trusted by Forney engineers to allow you to weld thicker materials for longer periods of time. Whatever line you choose from, Forney's green machines are sure to impress. Forney also offers exceptional metalworking accessories, including double-sided flap discs, auto-darkening welding helmets, welding gloves, and more. If you need shop tools, Forney has you covered there too. Shop battery chargers, pressure washer parts, air fittings, and more. Whether you recognize the classic red welders from the 50s and 60s, the iconic Forney green welders that they have today, or you've been with them through it all, you can trust Forney's products have been crafted with customers in mind for the last 89 years and for years to come. Visit your local Forney dealer or ForneyInd.com to shop for Forney products today. All right, gentlemen. So, Craig, normally we find out what has been going on with you and the Jeep, and I know for a fact that things have finally started progressing. Where are we at in getting the YJ running now?
Progress. I got a kick in the butt at Easter. My son-in-law, about to be son-in-law, got his Jeep that he's been wanting for years. So the discussion around the table was, well, Craig needs to work on his Jeep, and I got the kick in the butt from the wife. So I've been posting the pictures on our Facebook page, but 4 weeks in a row, I actually have gotten under the Jeep on a Saturday for half a Saturday.
That's good.
So oil pan gasket's been replaced. Oil pan was kind of really disgusting, so I took a wire wheel to it, cleaned it all up, painted it, had to get new bolts because I was actually missing bolts out of my oil pan. Well, I don't know.
if it's been sitting around uninstalled for that long, it doesn't surprise me.
No. It was only a week for it to be off the vehicle. But no, when I got under there to take the oil pan off, I was missing 4 bolts.
Oh, geez.
So I don't know when they came out. So needless to say, I got all cleaned up. So the oil pan went on. One weekend it came off. I cleared up everything. Got it the third week, the oil pan went back on with the new gasket. Decided, I got a little bit more time. Clutch went in, torqued. So the clutch is in, all that stuff. And then I'm like, okay, this Saturday, put the transmission in. My buddy across the street, Scott, gave me a hand. We got the transmission in. And I'm like, we got time. Hey, you want to help me put the transfer case in? Yeah, sure. Okay. Wait a minute. Where's that transmission bracket? Oh, crap. As you can see in the picture. Yeah. That is a 11.5-inch piece, and it's only held on by half an inch of metal.
Yeah, it is not just cracked, it is torn wide open. I don't even know how you did that.
I haven't driven it that long, so I'm thinking the previous owner. The crack is so dull. It wasn't recent. It wasn't for me. So it's been like that for a really, really long time, and I had no idea.
Yeah. Would you think that crack was the culprit for what originally caused the transmission to have its issues?
I don't think so. I think it was sitting too long, and the front seal of the transmission just ate itself.
Okay.
And that's pretty much where all the oil came from, was right from that, right around the input shaft of the transmission, and that seal was completely gone when I pulled the old transmission out.
Jeez.
So, and that's where all the oil came from.
This is the AX15 manual transmission.
Yeah, and there's 2 different types, so you have to find the right one, and that's a royal pain in the butt, and that's where we're at.
Is it different because it's is it different version or different whatever because the 4-cylinder versus 6-cylinder, or?
Actually, I'm not sure, but according to the place where I bought the transmission, the 4.2 liter to the 4.0 liter, there's a different transmission, but even from a 4.2 to a 4.2 in the years I had, they actually had 2 different transmissions. and one has a thicker input shaft and one has a thinner input shaft. I have the thinner input shaft.
But it's still an AX15
yeah.
case. So I wonder if the gear ratios are a little bit different through the gears.
Probably, but what's interesting is when they built the transmission for me, they sent me the big input shaft, and that was wrong. So I sent it back, and which has a different cover on the front. It's got a long nose cover.
Yeah.
Well, I sent the transmission back, and they sent it back to me with the smaller cover on it. Only issue is, they didn't change the input shaft.
Oh, geez.
So I still had the larger input shaft.
But that's all solved now. Like, that's no longer the issue.
Well, that's the funny part is I actually found a, what is it called? The little gasket or the little bearing that it sits in. The throw-out bearing.
Oh, yeah.
I actually found a throw-out bearing from a Dodge truck that will fit in there and fit around my new input.
Oh, perfect.
Shaft, so I didn't have to send the transmission back again.
Well, good.
So
now you're just down to this bracket.
The transmission back in. I'm down to the bracket and figuring out if I spent, I don't know, about 6 hours yesterday and about 4 hours today trying to find the damn bracket. I actually finally found the bushings. I found a bushing kit.
Yeah.
But which I still need, but it doesn't help me if the bracket's broken. So
yeah.
Well, I'm gonna try to take it down to my friend. You know, you were talking about welders earlier. I really need one right now.
Yeah.
But even that, I'm looking at it structurally, and my neighbor across the street, he's a welder, but he doesn't have one here. He has one at work.
Yeah.
And he's looking at it and going, oh, well, you know what? Since it's on the curve, the crack's on the curve, you're going to have to try to put a piece of metal on the outside, maybe put a piece of metal on the inside, and then weld it all back together. And he's like, it's going to be complicated. So,
yeah. I mean, the fact that it's not like a straight crack, that would be a little bit difficult. And I am obviously no welding scientist. I'm, as our, little ad from Forney indicates, I'm just a newbie. But, if you went in there and ground it down and put a little bevel on the existing crack, and maybe score, I don't know. I've seen sometimes like to end a crack, if you put a drill and you just drill a hole there, that stops the crack from going any farther. That'll help you kind of bend it back into place. But if you've got a good bevel on there and turn up the heat to the appropriate heat, you could get a good full penetration all the way in there. Now, that's not going to make this any stronger. That's just going to restore it. So
no, that's not what the issue is. The crack you see is curved, yes.
Yeah,
but no, the area that the crack is in is actually curved. So it bends up and then curves back. So it's right in the center.
Yeah.
If you're looking at it like this, the crack is right here.
Yeah.
So
kind of along the spine of the
for
bend.
the people on the thing, I'm explaining it on my hand so Dan sees it. But he says, yeah, because it's on that rounded part of the bend, it's going to be, you need to put something in there to reinforce it, because he's like, you could weld it up, but it's going to break again. So you either have to find another one, or so I have a JW Auto Wreckers up in Sacramento. They deal strictly with Jeeps. And I tried to call him on Saturday, and he wasn't answering the phone. And then I called my other buddy that actually knows the owner personally, and he told me, well, because of COVID, he's not open on the weekends anymore.
Oh, geez.
I'm like, oh, okay. I thought he was closed,
Yeah.
Permanently. You're freaking me out. So
if that doesn't pan out, there's another place in Colorado Springs, FN Jeep. They pull parts off of, ones that are getting parted out, and so they've got tons of parts available. I don't know if they would have this one, but FN Jeep in Colorado Springs would be a good one to check with. I know they've come through for me on other stuff, and they'll ship it, no problem.
Yeah,
and if they don't,
I think I found one on eBay, but the way the guy took the pictures, I can't confirm that it's the same one because he took it from like a flat. He laid it flat. It doesn't have anything else on it, and it's laid flat. So, and he only took one picture of it. He didn't like walk around it, take different pictures, like take a picture from the top. No, he took a picture from the thin angle. It's like, how can you tell if it's the right one? And all the other ones I found are just not the right one. But I did find the other, bushing kit. So I got the bushing kits on order. But
well, that's good.
Because wherever I get the bracket from, I'm probably going to most likely need to replace the bushing anyway.
Yep. All right. Well, Rich, besides medical stuff, what all you been doing?
I haven't really been doing a lot of medical stuff. But, prepping up for the Big Iron Overland Rally this month.
Yeah, May now.
Yeah. And then, this morning we installed, my son got a screaming deal on a new set of Fab 4's front and rear bumpers for the 3rd Gen 2500. So we installed those this morning.
Are all the Fab 4 bumpers as ugly as the ones I see on the internet?
I don't think so. I mean, they're not all that bad, especially the back bumper.
Wait, it didn't happen if there's no pictures.
Yeah, without pictures, I'm just going to call it ugly. Because they've got some real odd shape ones. It's like a chin that sticks out awkwardly, and I don't know. They've got some unique designs over at Fab 4s. It's certainly not my taste.
Yeah. Well, my son likes them. He paid for it with his own money, saved up, found a really good deal on it, and in fact, we put the rear bumper on last night, and it's a good looking rear bumper. He and my daughter's boyfriend started working on the front bumper this morning, bright and early this morning. And then they wake up and he comes and gets me in the morning. He goes, "Dad, I need your opinion." I'm like, "What's wrong?" He goes, "There's like a 2-inch gap between the bumper and the headlights." I'm like, "Gosh," I'm like, "Crap, did you order the right bumper?"
Yeah.
He's trying to explain. I was like, I'm like, "Come on, take a look at it." So I go out there and I'm looking and I go, "All right, well, it looks to me like you've got these 2 brackets on upside down. So let's pull it all off, flip 2 brackets over and try it again." And that did the trick. It definitely made it all nice and fit flush, and it looks good. And so they did manage to break a bolt in the meantime too, which I'm still not able to get out.
Oh no.
Well, it's okay. He ordered the one with the winch plate, and he's not really planning on putting the winch in. So I told him, I go, if you put some grade A bolts in both of these winch plates through the bumper, I go, it's honestly going to be stronger than it would have been with that broken bolt.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
So he's going to do that. Yeah, so he's going to do that. And then luckily the shackle covers where the broken bolt was, so you can't even see it.
Boom, perfect.
Well, he'll learn how to use a bolt tap.
Well, I've tried everything to get that bolt. I've got all the tools to get the bolt out. It's not even, we can't even weld a nut on the back.
Oh, geez.
There's just not, like, I was like, maybe we could weld on the inside of the nut, try to get it off. There's just not enough meat there to grab, so we're not going to worry about it.
There you go.
Yeah.
If you can't see it, it's not a problem, right?
That's right. But
until it becomes a problem.
Until it is. But it's a bumper, and if you're not running a winch doing a bunch of heavy pulls, it's probably fine.
Yeah, but no, he did a good job. I respect that he's doing it all himself, and He works hard to be able to afford it. So
That's good.
It looks good. Yeah.
That's good. I'll look forward to seeing some pictures. But,
Yeah, we'll have to post some up. It's just been a busy day here. I haven't had a chance to do it yet.
Yeah. Well,
proof is in the pictures.
Exactly. So last time we recorded, I was just getting ready to head out to Death Valley. And so right after we hit record or finished the recording and hit publish on that one, everything went sideways. There was, I had done all that work on the front end, and then the trip was thwarted by some sheared studs on the rear. So it was two of the wheel studs that were like adjacent to each other, not opposite. So there was no really getting it back together to really finish the trip. And I only had one replacement wheel stud in my tool bag. And, in the process of it, the wheel coming off and passing me, it messed up the other three. So I would have needed to replace all five. So then it became damage control mode. And, I had just, we talked about upgrading the antenna on my WeBoost. After we talked about it, and then I had sent an email, never did hear an answer back from WeBoost. But I went ahead and ordered the upgraded antenna anyways. And so I had that for the trip. And I'm sitting there in the middle of nowhere in Death Valley on the south end. So for anybody looking at a map, it's, I can't remember the name of the road now. But you come up from Baker, it's about 30 miles outside of Baker, and then you turn up this dirt road. And that's really all it is. It's just a dirt road with a bunch of washboard corrugations. Nothing difficult. That's where it happened. But we were well outside of cell phone range until I clicked the button and turned the WeBoost on, and it went from 0 bars to 4 bars of 4G. And I was able to surf the internet, try and find a tow truck that was going to be able to come service us. I was able to post on Instagram, make phone calls, do everything that I needed to do. And that was only possible because of the WeBoost system. And the upgraded antenna made a tremendous difference.
You're welcome.
Yeah. I'm glad you thought of that and talked me into it.
I'm glad. I didn't talk you into it. You were saying that you wanted this one. I said, well, here it is, and you just went, oh, really? and went and bought it. That was all you, man.
Because I saw the antenna. It was like $109 that I was looking at on their website, but then on Amazon it was like 65 or I can't remember what it was. So it was low enough. Less from what I was originally thinking that it was easy to put me over the hump. But I'm really glad that we were able to do that because I waited out there for 4 hours with the waiting for the tow truck company because I got insurance through USA, and they said, okay, we're searching for a company that's going to accept this contract and do the job. And 4 hours later, they still hadn't done it, and the person that thanks to COVID, they don't give rides anymore. They just pick up your vehicle and go. Well, that wasn't going to work for us since there's 5 of us. So we called one of my wife's friends. All my friends were out of town. Actually, I had one more phone call that I was going to make, but it wouldn't have fit all 5 of us in his Ram 2500. So that may not worked out as well anyways. But anyways, here's the sad part of the story. We were not, the wheel studs broke, but we were rescued in fact, by a Honda Pilot. That's a tough one to live down.
At least it was just on a washboard road. It wasn't like on a Rubicon or something.
Oh, yeah.
That would have been embarrassing.
Yep, we would have been in a bad way. But they came and picked us up. And they had so we had the trailer with us as well. And they said that they had the tow package on a Honda Pilot. I didn't even know that was a thing. So they get there, and I have to pull the trailer hitch, the drop hitch, off the Jeep. I had to remove the ball and flip it around. So instead of dropping down, it was rising up. And so we were able to slowly get the trailer off the dirt road. The Jeep was off the road. I was able to get smashed the remaining 3 lug nuts straight enough that I could get the wheel on it and drive it, get it turned around facing the right direction into a place where I could get it loaded on a tow truck. But it took a long time waiting for them to come pick us up. But I'm still thankful they were able to do it. Then we made the slow trip down washboard roads. And then I locked up the trailer at the highway there. And so we came the rest of the way home that night, picked up the truck. And it was like 11 o'clock at night when we finally did get home. I made a pot of coffee, and we drove from Barstow all the way back to Baker up the highway. It's like a hour and a half, 2-hour drive, whatever. Pick up the trailer, drive back home, and sleep for, I don't know, like 2 hours. And then I had to go down to U-Haul and pick up the car hauler trailer that I had reserved while we were waiting on the side of the road in Nowheresville. And of course, I had to pick up the trailer the opposite direction. It was like Victorville, Apple Valley area. So then it turned that our hour and a half drive from home to where the Jeep was at to a 3-hour trip. So we go over there, pick up the Jeep. As we were slowly making our way back, so, Death Valley is also pretty close to 29 Palms. We're out there kind of Johnson Valley area, and there was a AH-1 Cobra helicopter doing some maneuvers, and he was, 50 feet above the ground and close enough that I made eye contact with the pilot as he was cruising around checking us out. I suspect he just wanted to see the Jeep on the trailer. That's the only thing that I can imagine. But it was pretty cool. My wife went kind of nuts because she's not around, attack helicopters flying around at low altitudes at high speeds very often. But it was still cool. You don't see a Cobra flying around ever because those
and if you do, it's probably pointed at you.
Yeah, you don't want to be on the business
you don't
end.
You don't want to be on business.
Yeah,
one of those.
Do not want to be on the business end of that. But it was cool, seeing an old school helicopter with skids and, it didn't have any armament loaded. But it was cool to watch them fly around. But then we got home, dropped the Jeep off in the driveway, and went and returned the trailer, blah, blah, blah. So here's kind of a summary of the carnage. So 2 snapped wheel studs, 3 bent wheel studs. The weld racing wheel was destroyed. The holes were kind of ovaled out on a couple of them because it wobbled around as it came out. And then, of course, the little dust shield on the brakes, it was pretty mangled. But, I could bend that back into place. And then, as I was kind of just doing an inspection of everything else, I noticed the trailer that I also built when we were living in Kansas and took up to Alaska and everything. I snapped a leaf spring. And I'm pretty sure anyways, it was somewhere on Death Valley where it happened on that road. So that means we had pulled it back with a busted leaf spring. So when it broke, it's that main leaf, the top leaf, and the broken piece happened right at the spring perch plate. And so the busted half of the spring, flopped up, and it was riding on the frame rail of the trailer, and the remainder of the spring was pushing up on a new spot on that leaf.
Wow.
But it was totally, didn't pull very unusual. It didn't slam down and ride awkwardly. But I found this out because somehow just driving down the highway, the tail light, they kind of stick off the side, and it's got the license plate mounted to it. The bracket, just from the vibrations, had broken off, and so the tail light fell, and it was dragging on the highway. And okay, so I got to fix the tail lights and the bracket, which was easy to do. Take the bracket off, weld it, done, put that back on. But while I was crawling around fixing the wiring, that's when I noticed, that's a snapped leaf spring. How about that?
Man.
So everything is
I
fixed
think you
now.
should invest in Loctite.
Yeah. Man. It just, so I still can't say that I've been to Death Valley. We were inside the boundaries of the park, but that doesn't count. We really didn't get to see anything cool inside the park. But everything's fixed. And here's this kind of, we'll jump down here to the off-roading gear review stuff. So I ordered a full set, actually 2 full sets of wheel studs. So I installed 5 of the 10 that I ordered. Now I've got a full set that's wrapped up in bubble wrap inside my tool bag, so that's there. But the other part of it is getting those wheel studs installed. So a lot of vehicles, it's easy to knock them out and everything and put the new ones back in. Usually requires a press. However, I ordered this wheel stud installer tool, and you basically push the wheel stud in from the back as far as you can. You put the installer tool over it, and then you put a lug nut on, and you can tighten the lug nut down, and it sucks that wheel stud in. Now, I've seen this done without the installer tool, and it doesn't always work great. So this installer tool is basically a thrust bearing and then a cap that's got that 60-degree angle, so it matches up great with the lug nuts. But the bearing allows you to keep turning the lug nut without introducing a ton of extra friction and stress onto the wheel studs. So it just pulls them in nice and easy with hand tools. And so this thing really, if you imagined a stack of like $6 or $8 coins, the Sacagawea dollar coins, if you stacked them up, it's that big. That's all this installer tool is. So it doesn't take up hardly any room in the tool bag, and it still just uses the same either wheel lug wrench or ratchet. So 3/4 inch wheel, the lug nuts. So that's easy. Got all the tools that I need. So now I've got the full set of wheel studs and the installer tool, so I will not be having this issue again. And I imagine I could have put the same wheel back on there and gotten off the trail, but whatever. So now I've consumed my spare wheel. I need to order a new wheel. And the tire that was on my spare wheel was the original BFG mud terrain. I did not trust that one, so I went ahead and tossed that one in the dumpster. Their auto tire recycler place. I didn't just throw it in the dumpster. Don't send me hate mail. But the problem is, like, these weld racing wheels that I have are, from what I can tell, discontinued. I haven't been able to find a single one in the size that I need anywhere. So I think what I'm going to end up doing, I'm going to order a Mickey Thompson wheel that matches the size as close as I can, and that'll become the spare wheel. And then whenever I get back to the States and I'm reunited with the XJ, I'm going to go ahead and order a full 4 more anyways. And the tires and wheels that I have now, or the wheels that I have now, are going to become the winter wheels. So I can put some studded tires on those wheels, and I'll just be able to swap them off whenever winter comes around. Because I imagine by that time I'll be heading back to Alaska.
Well, there you go.
And there it is. All the adventures. But man, it's just one thing after another. So one trip, wheel studs, the wheel, the trailer, multiple things on the trailer.
Multiple trailers.
Oh, yeah. Using multiple trailers. What a headache. But anyways, that's it for now. Let's go ahead and talk about some news. There's kind of a, after Easter Jeep Safari happened, not a lot going on, turns out. So we don't have as many news articles to choose from. But this one, here at the 4x4 podcast, we are fans of Ram trucks. And the TRX is kind of the pinnacle of the Ram trucks. And this one, Hennessy, the guys that turn everything up to 11, loads of horsepower and everything. So they will take a 2021 Ram 1500 TRX and turn it into a 3-row SUV. Now, I think we've talked about when they did this with the Raptor. They made the Velociraptor. So just like this one, the Mammoth, the Hennessy Mammoth, will get, I see what they did there. It's not a TRX, it's a Mammoth, a different dinosaur. I don't understand. Why'd they go with Mammoth? That's a big, slow one compared to... Anyways, the Mammoth, is getting a custom roof, rear pillars, glass, an unidentified interior upgrade to provide more covered space. So I imagine they're doing some sort of fiberglass, grafting that onto the cab, make that match. I'm not sure how they would do that. And then they replace the second row bench with captain chairs, and then add the third row with the folding bench seat all the way in the back. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it sounds huge.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's the same physical size and like dimensions and everything, but of course, Hennessy can't do anything without upgrading the power. So it's an upgraded supercharger, pulleys, fuel injection, engine calibration, intake, a high flow cat, and they're bringing the power output, to 1,012 horsepower and 969 pound-feet of torque. Over 1,000 horsepower. That's a lot.
And this is what the people need. This is exactly what they needed. They needed an affordable 1,000 horsepower, almost 1,000 pound-feet of torque SUV. That's what they want, an affordable SUV that does all that stuff.
That's right. Well,
I don't know about affordable, but
it's
only
$375K.
Ooh. Now, I imagine that's not like you bring your 90,000 TRX and then you add 375,000 to it. But maybe that's the case. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But there's only going to be 20 made, so.
Yeah. And so this is...
So when are you getting yours, Rich?
There is a long list of needs before that.
Yeah. I mean... basically endless list. Anyways, but here I don't know if you'll be able to hear this or not, but all my friends here on the podcast, they're gonna hear this. I'm gonna let you hear a little bit of that Ram truck starting up. Oh. That's a glorious noise.
Pretty nice.
I love it. All right.
A rumble of a V8.
From
nothing like it.
From one thing that I will probably never lay eyes on to maybe something else. Rich, you got the next one.
Well, you're more likely to lay eyes on this than we are.
Well, that could be true. Yeah.
So Toyota a couple of Japanese forums have leaked what the new 300 series Land Cruiser is going to look like, and this will be the new generation of Land Cruiser. So I think it's all new. But like you said, we'll probably never see it here in the States. This is going to be more of a global market minus us.
Yeah.
But I mean, it sounds nice. They're going to have 5 trim levels. The first one is going to have a 3.5 liter V6 with a twin turbo. I believe this is the same motor that comes in the Lexus LS 500. So, and it's no slouch. It's like 420 horsepower, which is nice. It's a base model, and it's still putting out that. You get an optional locking rear diff and LED headlamps. The next model up gives you a few more luxuries, with also an added, the kick sensor that all the SUVs now have for the tailgates, and a remote sunroof. Now, never have I ever thought I would ever need a remote sunroof, but somebody out there obviously needs this.
So here's the thing. I'm not sure what the remote sunroof really is. Like, you can open it and close it from the remote, the key fob?
That's the way I take it, yeah.
Okay, so here's the thing. I would love to have something like that here, because after the truck has been sitting in 120-degree heat in a parking lot that's paved in asphalt, so really ambient temperature is closer to 135. The ability to remote start and open the sunroof and evacuate the 200-degree air temperature that's inside, that would be glorious. That's pretty smart. I don't know why that doesn't happen more.
The remote start does that by itself. I mean, you set your air conditioner, you turn on your remote start, and
not at the same way.
Your car is nice and cold.
Once you open up a gaping hole in the roof, that's going to evacuate that heat much faster.
Well, yeah. There's also remotes that, I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be the sunroof. they do have remotes that you can open the windows.
Yeah, and
So
it's funny.
It would be just
Ram,
as.
there's a few Ram trucks that do that. Volkswagen does it. There's a few of them that do that. But yeah, so that's the next trim level up. The third level gives you a 3.3 liter turbo diesel with 507 pound-feet of torque. And the thing that I really like most is probably the fifth trim level. This is the GRS version. It's kind of like their race version.
Mm-hmm.
And they focused a little bit more on getting rid of some of the weight. So it's going to have blocking front and rear differentials, but it gets rid of the VDIM, which is the vehicle dynamics management software. It gets rid of that. It gets rid of the sequential blinkers, which I don't really understand why it does. There must be a reason.
There must be a lot of weight savings in those
must
sequential
weigh a
blinkers.
ton. Yeah. I mean, each bolt, I don't know. It gets rid of the sunroof, and the KDSS system becomes standard, and the wheels bump back down to 18. All of the high-end trim levels, for some reason, all the SUVs now, they're automatically going to 20 inches. So it's kind of nice that they're bumping them back down to the 18-inch wheels for that.
Yeah, well, as we've discussed, 20-inch wheels off-road are useless unless you're running 40-inch tires.
Right. Yeah, it's true. So it's nice to see them going back to the 18s for that truck. So, I'd like to see this stuff. I can't wait to see some videos. Because that's all I'm going to see is video.
Yeah, well, maybe you can go visit the Land Cruiser Museum in Utah, and maybe they'll have one eventually.
Maybe they'll get one.
Yeah. They've got all kinds of weird trucks over there.
Well, see, I know somebody that's going to a country, and maybe he could buy one and ship one back for us, and then we'd know a lot more about it.
That's true.
Man, can you imagine? That's going to be next to impossible.
If only we knew a guy.
Only if we knew somebody that was going to be.
Yeah, you have to wait till the chicken tax runs out.
Oh, yeah. Stupid chicken tax. Well, if I do see one, I will let you know. So, all right.
Go hit up a dealership.
Yeah, that's true.
Take a bunch of pictures.
Something else I just remembered about that. All the trim levels come with a fingerprint start button, so it reads your fingerprint to start the truck, which I think is kind of cool. But
I heard that some other podcast I was listening to, I can't remember. Like that was a feature that was being introduced, and I imagine that's going to become more of a thing. However, like I can just imagine that going haywire.
Well, I will say it took me 3 tries to unlock my computer right before this podcast with my fingerprint.
Yeah, imagine your frustration. Like now you can't open your car, get your car started. Like, oh, Jesus.
Oh, yeah. Fingerprint start or, hey, face recognition start. You sit in the car. Please start.
Yeah,
Please start.
It'll be a while until facial recognition. We got to get rid of these COVID masks before anything like that really makes any new developments. Eye retina scanning maybe, but we know that never works in James Bond, so it's never going to happen. All right, Craig, you got the next one.
All right, the Jeep 4xe. They brought it out, and it looks like they are going to really. It came out this year, and they're gonna ramp up on this. I'm not exactly too sure about this. They are bringing out 4 charging stations. The particular placing of these stations, one is in Moab, one is supposed to be for the Rubicon Trail, but I looked it up on the map, and it's not exactly in the right place for the Rubicon Trail. I would think you'd put one at one end and one at the other, but they put it at the south end. And by the time you get to the trail, you'd probably already be out of electric power.
That's a bummer.
And then one near Big Bear, California, down near you, Dan.
Yep.
And the interesting part going through this, looking at the charger, they give you two different charging options to charge this. It is, if you charge it at a 240 volt charger, which these 4 charging stations will be, it will take you about 2 hours to charge it. If you do it on a 120, it will take 12 hours.
Oh yeah, that's never gonna work.
See, I don't understand how it could take 2 hours on a twice as much. But
yeah,
I would think it would be 4 hours.
Well,
wouldn't you?
No, I mean the way things charge, there's voodoo science in battery charging. But I love the idea that they're using a giant solar panel. It's really not even that big. I'm kind of surprised that the size panel is able to support the level 2 charging, that 240 volt. I'm surprised that is really able to do it. But
most likely what it does is it spins a small generator to generate enough power to do it, because I've seen systems where it'll have a smaller panel that runs a motor that runs a generator that will create more power.
I think this is supposed to be just a solar charger, and so that's why they can drop it off at the trailhead in Moab or something, and it's not connected to anything else.
No, it's not connected. No, that's what I'm saying. It's not connected to anything else. So what I think is I think inside there's a generator that's run by a solar panel that runs a electric motor that runs the generator that can generate enough power to charge these vehicles in 2 hours.
That's
my guess.
I imagine the solar just charges a giant battery in the pedestal for this thing. I'm looking at this website.
Oh, that's probably true.
Yeah,
that's probably true too. But it's a 17 kilowatt hour battery pack. I looked up it. The battery pack is under the passenger's rear seat. The estimated range on just the electric battery, according to this article, is 21 mile range.
That's what I heard in all the videos and things talking about it from Easter Jeep Safari.
And I looked up and it says that, looking down the article, it didn't say what the mileage. I didn't see how long just on gas mileage. So I went over to the Jeep website and I looked up what it says there, and it says that their estimated on battery is 49 miles, and then gas is 370 miles.
Well, if they're saying that much and everybody else is saying 21, we can go ahead and cut that gas range estimate in half as well.
Well, it's interesting because now the motor that's in this Jeep is the 2-liter turbocharged engine, which gets 22 miles to the gallon. But what's interesting is I looked up the EPA numbers from the EPA website, and if you look at the 2-liter 4-cylinder, gets 22 miles to the gallon. But according to the same website, if you look up the 2-liter turbo with the electric motor, it only gets 20 miles to the gallon.
Yeah.
So you get less mileage per gallon. I think that's probably because of the weight of the battery.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Either way, I think it's cool to see the solar panel. So, I installed that solar panel on my trailer, and when we came back from Death Valley, I never did unplug the fridge we emptied everything out, brought that back in the house, the groceries and everything. But the fridge has been plugged in on my trailer, running on the solar panel, connected to the battery that's inside. So that charges up with the Renergy charge controller. And that fridge has been at 20 degrees like a month now.
It's a good fridge.
Like, it hasn't been plugged into the house on shore power or anything. That's just solar is running basically everything on that fridge or in the trailer. Just endless supply because there's no shortage of sunshine in the Mojave. So I think there's a lot of potential here with the solar. I hope.
Oh, I don't doubt. I totally agree.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's interesting with this new 4xe. The estimated torque is 470 pounds of torque. Now, what's very interesting and complete competition with themselves, if you get a 2021 Jeep Wrangler Rubicon 9 with the 3.92 Hemi, which is offered,
yes,
is the exact same torque numbers.
Yeah, but it gets there in a much happier fashion.
Oh, much quicker fashion. I'm pretty sure. But your mileage is 14 average, 14 miles per hour. So highway 17, city 13 for the Hemi. So it's okay. Did somebody really think about this? I mean, okay, yeah, you're getting better gas mileage, but you're bringing out a V8 in competition with your 2-cylinder electric motored Jeep. I know
they got
which
a Jeep
one
for
I would.
Jeep in every flavor.
Yeah. So I mean,
actually, Craig, I'm on Jeep's website, and it says when it's in electric mode, if there's more than 1% charge, it will allow you to travel up to 21 miles per hour, 21 miles at highway speeds.
Yeah.
So that's probably where they're getting the 21 from. And then it also, there's several things in there where it's talking about only getting 21 miles. So,
yeah. See, now and it's interesting because the EPA says different. It says the 49. So I don't know if it's upgraded, since the article or.
Now this is Jeep's website.
Yeah, because that's what's confusing me. Because in one place, I agree. I found that exact same thing you did. It says with more than 1% charge.
Yeah.
Okay. But what's 1% charge? Wouldn't you have 100% charge? So you can get down to 1%. You can go 21 miles. That's confusing to me.
No, it says when you have more than 1% charge, you can run on full electric. Once it drops below that 1% charge, it's going to kick back over to gasoline.
You're not getting 21 miles on 1%.
Yeah.
But anyways,
so that's what I'm saying. It's a little confusing. So you have one area, it's saying that their estimated is almost 50 miles on electric. Now, is that electric is what 20 of those 8 miles or so also when the gas motor is running, and then only when you're using electric can you go 21, but then it saves the other 28 for when you're using the gas motor too.
Right.
Confusing.
Well, they've got that e-save mode. So I wonder if that's where they're getting the 49 e-save mode, where it says it prioritizes the gasoline motor. and saves a battery charge for later use. I don't know. Maybe that's tying in where they're getting the 49.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, moving on. Enough
Yeah.
sad Jeep electric news. So this is something that I may see or may not. The new Hyundai Santa Cruz. So they've introduced a mini truck version of a truck. This is like a supersized Subaru Brat. Is that what it was? I don't know. It's part truck up or part car up front, part SUV up front, whatever, and then it's got a bed, an open bed in the back.
What it reminds me of is it reminds me of the Utes on Australia.
Yeah, well, see, it's not even that. Like, this is like a, I don't know, smaller version of the Honda Ridgeline. That's kind of how I see it, because this is a bed that's integrated into the body. It's not like the bed is a separate component to the cab. Like, when you look at it, it's clearly like, okay, no, this is
definitely a sport Ute.
Yeah, so
well, I think it's a unibody. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they're calling it a sport adventure vehicle, but this was completely designed in the United States. So I don't know that I will actually see this Hyundai Santa Cruz in Korea when I get there. It's all-wheel drive. The bed is rated at 660 pounds. There's loads of tie-downs back there. They've got a 115-volt outlet back there. What I don't know is if it, like, a lot of the times those outlets they only operate when the vehicle is running. Because it puts a pretty significant draw on the battery. And this Adventure Journal article says, from some angles, it does resemble a truck. So even the hippies...
Was he looking through beer goggles?
Yeah, possibly.
Because it doesn't look like a truck to me.
Yeah, and it's funny, one of the pictures, a mountain bike where it's the front tire is over the bed, sticking out on the other side. Like, the bed's so short that the mountain bike is still at an angle. So I don't know that you're going to get more than one bike loaded in the bed there without using a rack. But, innovative approach to things. I like to see that Hyundai is doing something like that. So
looks like a Subaru to me.
It does look a lot like a Subaru that's had but even like I can't remember what was the newer version of, was it the Baja? The Subaru Baja? Is that what it was called?
Subaru Baja.
Yeah. So the Baja, I feel like has
Subaru Outback.
No, it was the Baja.
The Baja.
Oh, okay.
This is me and
which are
I think it's the Outback. It's the one this is reminding me of.
No, it's the Baja. The Baja was the truck version of the Outback.
But I feel like that bed was longer than this one.
Yeah.
Like, it was a more usable bed. I imagine those Subaru Bajas are.
Plus, it had a pass through too. So.
Oh yeah.
Into the cab. Yeah.
I don't know.
Plus, it had a really inventive tailgate. If you folded the tailgate down in a Subaru Baja, you would actually flip the license plate down. So even with the tailgate down, you could still see the license plate.
Oh, so it was the tailgate or the license plate is on the tailgate, not on the bumper?
The tailgate. Yeah.
Huh.
So yeah, those Bajas are going for a pretty penny now. They're really in demand.
Oh, I'm sure.
So yeah. So I mean, I said it when they came out that Subaru was ahead of their time when they came up with that. People didn't want them then, but they want them now. And those same people, I think, are going to be interested in this car. So,
yeah. Well, I don't know that it's not a real great looking vehicle, but it does have a very important role that it plays.
Yeah.
So in our Onyx Off-Road segment, I got an email from the team over at Onyx Off-Road saying that they are introducing a new tier on their plan. So it used to be, and it still is, $30 for a year gets you access to all the trails and the different map layers and everything. But now there's an elite plan, and this plan includes all of the other premium features, but now it also includes additional property boundaries. And here's what's really awesome: the landowner names and information. So all that information is public record, like the county assessor's office in whatever county you're in, they have all the contact information for all those landowners. And OnX has had that in their hunting app for as long as they've existed. Like that's been their key defining feature, and so now they're pulling that into the off-road segment. So if you see a prime piece of off-roadable property, or you want to put together a route that traverses through somebody's private property, if you're an elite on the elite plan, you can actually contact that person and put together this epic route if they ask for permission anyways. So that's pretty awesome. And we've got a link here.
I think that feature was available online too, on their actual website, if you're using onxmaps.com.
So, yeah, you could see like what's BLM and what's private property, but you couldn't see the landowner contact info.
Oh, I think seems like I could. I mean, it's been a while
maybe
since
not.
I've looked at it, but I think I was able to bring up who the landowner was.
Nice. Well, this is a brand new feature, and I'm excited to see that. So if the new level is more expensive, it's $99 per year. But just that information alone, if you're really getting into putting together a nice route that is going to be unique, that's something that you're going to want to have. And if you do want to sign up for OnX off-road, I would appreciate it if you would use our link. That's the 4x4podcast.com/ONX for OnX. And that'll get you subscribed and unlock all of those awesome features. All right. Now into some off-roading feedback. Some feedback here. This is from Instagram from Unobtainium6920. And let's see here. This is super tiny. I should have blown this up before we started. So he was asking for any some first impressions with the JLTV. He says he's ex-Army, got out in 2012. He was in Iraq for 06, again in 09, and Afghanistan in 2011. Got to work with the Oshkosh Mat V a lot. Mildly obsessed with the truck, the JLTV that is. Wish I could have played around with it or still have access to the nerdy technical stuff. Wish we would have had this earlier in the global war on terrorism. So you guys familiar with the JLTV? I think we mentioned it a little bit earlier in the interview with Isaac, because the JLTV actually has the Snorkel, the Cyclone pre-filter that was designed by Snorkel Upgrade. But it's a pretty awesome truck. It's like the air ride suspension on your Ram truck, my Ram truck, except it's like turned up to 11. It's got a lot more travel in that. It's like a trophy truck suspension on this mine-resistant vehicle. It's pretty awesome. That air system does take up quite a bit of room. That's kind of my one complaint. But the onboard diagnostics that are built in there, like it's got not quite a Tesla-level pad in the center, but it does have a big touchscreen, and it will do all the diagnostics. So the preventive maintenance checks are being run all of the time by the vehicle. And it will tell you a little more information as they improve on this. They're upgrading it, so there's a little more artificial intelligence, I think, is one of the things they're looking at building into it, so that the truck will tell you, hey, you need to do this additional service in addition to what's already in the manual. Do this additional thing so that you don't find yourself broken down with this. I think it's like a $250,000 truck, but it's pretty awesome. So,
yeah, just a bit out my price range.
Well, it's still less than your Hennessy Mammoth.
No, that's riches.
But thank you for sending that piece of feedback there. I'll get your address and get a sticker out to you just to say thanks for that. And I want to remind everybody that we are members of the 4x4 Radio Network. Head over to 4x4radio.com and you'll find all the other shows on the network. Center Steer podcast, talking Land Rover stuff. We got the Jeep Talk Show, and let's see, On the Trail with Kevin and Scott. They talk a lot of Jeep stuff as well. It's Florida Jeep stuff, so I don't understand what that is, but it's still, check it out. Lots of great information there. And, of course, the Trail Chasers podcast, which is just one. This show, you just have to listen to it, okay? Cody, Matt, and Jose are hilarious, and you just got to check that out. And don't forget about our giveaway. Say thanks again to Artemis Overland Hardware for helping this show continue. Check them out on social media and say thanks. And also to Forney Industries. If you want to send us some feedback, you can do that on Instagram or Twitter or the Facebook. We are at the 4x4 Podcast in all of those places. Also on email, the 4x4 Podcast at yahoo.com. Still using Yahoo, hanging on there. And you can send us a voicemail or a text message at 719-924-5337 or hit that speak pipe tool and it'll let you send a really high quality message. You know, one of the things we haven't had people do in a while, you can record a voice memo using the app that's built into your phone, your smartphone, and just email us that file. And that'll be a great way to get a good message to us. But that is it for now. So it's time to hit the trails. Tread lightly, God bless, and stay safe while exploring your world with all of your wheel studs connected.